Shares of Matterport could have at least a 32% upside if the buyout that has been offered by CoStar goes through. Now, it's very possible that this buyout actually is completed by the end of the summer. We don't know what timing is going to look like. There's going to be a vote late in July from the Matterport side, and then it's very possible that the deal closes in short order after that. The timing of these is always a little bit unknown from the outside by investors, but I want to go through all the details today and exactly what you need to know about the collar related to this acquisition, where there's potentially upside, potentially a little bit of downside, and why shares have been falling at least a little bit over the last couple of months since this deal was announced. My name's Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content, and thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. If you go to fool.com/ASYM, they'll give you their top 10 stocks to buy right now. First of all, let's look at Matterport over the past few months. This is a look at Matterport's stock price on Google Finance. You can see that shares were trading down under $2 per share when the deal was announced. The acquisition by CoStar was actually for $5.50 per share as of when it was announced. I'll get to what the collar is and how that could change some of the upside. But you can see that shares jumped to $4.80, so still significantly below the buyout price. Investors weren't expecting another offer to come in. I think really the only company that would even possibly make sense for Matterport would be to be acquired by Zillow. Zillow has its own products kind of in this space, like Showing Time, that it's really leaning into. So it doesn't appear that that's going to be something they're going to do, but it seems like they are a little bit concerned because this is definitely a strategic deal. This is not a deal that CoStar is just buying the finances of Matterport. Matterport's still losing money, so they're buying this as a strategic investment. That's one of the reasons that I think this is probably going to close. But you can see the shares have just steadily fallen from that initial pop to where they are today, $4.09 as I'm recording. But these are the details, and this is a SEC filing that recently came out from Matterport related to the actual vote. So they go through some of the acquisition details here at the top. And then this second paragraph is all about the purchase price and what you're actually going to get as a shareholder. So I've been a shareholder for quite some time with Matterport. I'm not really doing anything with my shares right now, but if you were to say buy shares at $4.09 per share and the deal closes, you would get $2.75 per share in cash, and then the remainder you would get in CoStar stock. Right now, CoStar is trading for $74.14. So keep that number in mind. So the other half of the acquisition is this share price discussion right here. There are a few numbers you need to keep in mind. Between $77.42 for CoStar stock and $94.62, what they're going to do is they're just going to take the average share price of the 20 trading days prior to the acquisition closing plus 3 days. So here it says that 20 consecutive trading days ending on and including the trading day that is 3 days prior to the effective time of the first merger. Very confusing, but basically that is 23 trading days, and then the average is actually going to be just the 20 days. 3 days is basically kind of the settlement period, if you will, where they finalize all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a 20-day range, and if the shares average $77 to $42 per share to $94.62 per share, then the exchange ratio is going to be the quotient of $2.75 divided by that average share price. Where shares are trading today is below this $77.42 number. If you go back a month, the average would probably not be below the $77 number yet, but although probably getting pretty close. So the lowest share price that they're going to calculate this based on is $77.42. If the stock is below that, then the exchange ratio is going to be each share of Matterport gets 0.03552 shares of CoStar stock. So if you just take 0.03552 times $74.18 as I'm recording, plus $2.75, that's how you get to $5.38 per share is what the ultimate buyout price would be for Matterport, which is trading for $4.09 per share. So a little over a 30% premium that you would get for Matterport, assuming the deal closes. Those are the details that we need to know as investors. Now the question is the deal actually going to close? Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. So what are the risks with the merger? I want to go through some of the ones that Matterport highlights in their filing. Now, Matterport is the one that is going to be voting on this deal. CoStar shareholders are not going to be voting on this deal. So that's not going to be rejected from that side. But there are still some risks. A lot of those are associated with the Matterport vote. I don't think that's probably going to go against this deal considering the price, the approval from the markets, the approval from NASDAQ. There are regulatory approvals. There are covenants. Now, these are the kinds of things where there's little tiny details that we're probably going to know about as public investors with these deals, and also potential adverse events. Maybe CoStar finds something in Matterport's financials or their technology that basically allows them to back out of the deal. That would be, I think, the biggest thing, because this is, like I said earlier, a strategic acquisition. They're not buying Matterport because it's going to be accretive to their earnings. They're buying it because they think it's going to add value to their existing products. So most of these risks are really related to the regulatory state. Is the US government in particular going to allow this acquisition to go through? I don't see that being a huge deal. Yes, they're not a big fan of tech acquisitions right now, but this is a fairly small company. It's a money-losing company. So these are the kind of companies that you want to be able to survive and actually tuck in to bigger and more powerful organizations. If it were one of the big tech companies that was buying Matterport, I think this would probably be what met with a lot more scrutiny, but that's not the case with the CoStar acquisition. So I think it's probably very likely that the deal goes through, although definitely not guaranteed because of some of these risk factors that I've highlighted here. So the key date to remember, Matterport will hold a special meeting of its stockholders on July 26th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and that will be where the official vote will happen for or against this merger. So if that ends up going through, which assuming that it does, given the acquisition price, then that starts a lot of balls rolling for the acquisition to actually close. I believe in the initial announcement, they said that they expected this to close by the end of the year, maybe early next year. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this happen a little bit earlier, especially if the stock price keeps falling for CoStar. There's really no advantage to delaying the vote. You're not going to get any extra dilution from this kind of acquisition. So there are definitely risk factors, but I'm a shareholder of Matterport. This is one of the stocks that I've covered quite a bit here on Asymmetric Investing. And given the reasons for the acquisition price, which was significantly higher than where shares were trading in the open market, I think this deal is ultimately going to close. And given the 32% premium from where shares are trading right now, I think that's a pretty attractive premium for investors. A lot of times that premium is only 5 to 10%. For a really big company, it's going to be even lower than that. So this is a pretty big premium, given the fact that we already have a deal in place and all the terms are known by investors. The one downside is going to be at this price, if CoStar stocks continues to fall, then the value of the shares that investors are going to get from CoStar as part of this conversion is actually going to make the deal look a little less valuable from a dollar perspective. So something to keep in mind there, but no major red flags, I don't think. Just kind of standard things going on with mergers. We'll get a little bit more news in July when this vote happens, and hopefully a little bit of timing information as well. But what do you think about Matterport right now, given the potential upside? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.